Hey folks, we are back. New beat here with Aegis and Tickety as we're getting ready for our final match of the day. We have Dice Gaming going up against Bay State. This should be another great match to watch. And Tickety, what are you going to be looking for in this one?
Yeah, last match of the day, and dare I say, potentially most interesting match of the day. We're getting two juggernaut teams coming in. Both these teams had incredible records in the group stages, but worth noting that Bay State did actually get the the win over Dice Gaming, which was their one loss in the group stage there. So both these teams, other than going one loss each in the group stage, coming off really hot streaks. But that one determining matchup that we saw in the group stages was in Dice Gaming's favor. So completely backwards. Was in Bay State's favor. I wanted to talk up Dice Gaming so bad, they're just stuck in my head right now. So, like I said, previous match looked like a more structured team playing against a more pug team. And I think that really showed in the scoreline. I think what we're going to see here is almost a little bit of the opposite. What we see from Bay State, obviously a lot of structure behind them. They're a solid collegiate roster. They're performing well in the collegiate scene, going up against a newly formed Dice Gaming roster. But again, we're seeing a bit of the symptoms of having just that high level of talent with a good amount of experience behind them as well. It doesn't matter how long they've been playing together. Their fundamentals are just so solid that they are coming out ahead in a lot of their matches. The fact that Dice Gaming did lose to Bay State in the group stages tells me that might just be growing pains for Dice Gaming, or Bay State might have the keys to fully run away with this series. This is the one matchup today I was a little bit tossed up on because everything else seemed like a clear, this team should beat that team kind of situation, but here it could go either way. I initially wanted to predict Dice Gaming, but then after rewatching their group stage matches and seeing that loss to Bay State, it's a little bit hard to tell.
Because I think this might actually be a bit of like a revenge game for Dice Gaming. Like, obviously, going down the last time around, now maybe they're going to want to be the ones in the driver's seat and get some revenge, get a win back. Like you said, Tickety, I remember being on the desk when Bay State took down Dice Gaming in the qualifiers last week. And it was a really fun match to watch because it wasn't exactly what we were expecting. And so it makes it exciting this time around because I am not entirely sure what kind of strategies we're going to see come out from these two teams.
It's interesting. So we did get to see Dice Gaming play a little bit earlier today. They did lose their matchup, which is why we're here in the losers bracket here. But they did take the one and only map that Trust the Process has dropped this entire tournament. And even though that was a 3-1 scoreline in favor of Trust the Process, I really think that's a good sign for Dice Gaming to show that these seemingly unbeatable titans can bleed. Being able to take that first map, again, Trust the Process went 7-0 in groups, didn't drop a single map to any of their teams, and this is the first time they've shown that they can actually lose a map to other teams in this tournament. So even though Dice Gaming lost in the winner's side there, they're coming in off a strong performance, and this will be their second game of the day. Maybe that warm-up factor is going to play into this matchup. Bay State coming in for their first match here, but they have been playing in collegiate as well. There's also collegiate games going on this weekend, so maybe not completely cold coming into this one. Definitely an interesting matchup for sure. It's going to come down to the better team once we hit the match.
And with that, it looks like we are going to pass it off to Dryad and Dusttin once again and get ready for this match.
Thank you so much for that throw over, guys. Welcome back to the Questline Open. I'm excited to see Dice Gaming versus Bay State. Sorry. Honestly, I mentioned these before, but I didn't realize that apparently Tensa works with Bay State. So they have also recently we just saw Roadhogs, that team. We saw them come in and actually do really well with Kaluge, or not Kaluge, but with Kaluge on the bench. And honestly, this team, Bay State and Dice Gaming, they've had history in the past, and it's going to be a good game. This is going to be a good game, and I don't know, I'm excited, Jed.
Yeah. The analysts, they got the chance to talk about it a little bit before. These two teams already faced each other in the group stages, and it was actually Bay State the one getting away with the victory. So, I mean, yeah, it was still very close. It was 4 maps to guarantee who was going to take it away, but still pretty good indication, right? We see both of the teams, they have players that we know, players that we've heard of in that tier 2 scene, and even a little bit of collegiate. So it should be a good match, especially because now we have the potential to see even more maps than they got to play in the group stages.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if DICE can come out on top this time. Obviously, they're going to get Petal back in the lobby, so that's going to be really good for them. This whole team, honestly, DICE Gaming, I watched them earlier, they're really talented. And the fact that they had such a close game in the group stages that you mentioned is honestly no surprise. I mean, both teams are really, really insane. You got on the side of DICE Gaming, you got Petal, you got Zura, you got Infected, you got Frosted, you got Moser and Aspen. And honestly, a lot of these players have been around for a while. I know Moser's really got an Ana. Everybody called him one of the GOATs Anas. He's really, really insane. And then on the side of Bay State, they have Kabe, Depresso, Faded, Infertile, Abs, and Nep. And both teams, I think, are honestly full of talent. That some of these guys, I would not be surprised if they get picked up like early on in the season in Overwatch League. Or like when maybe somebody's underperforming, like in practice or in scrims, right? Like that was how when I'm in the Overwatch League, that's how I got picked up, because one of the players on their team was like not doing that well. So they're like, hey, let's just go get somebody from contenders. Like I would not be surprised if some of these guys, we see them in Overwatch 2 pop off.
Yeah, absolutely. All of these players really have the potential, and they've showed it in different tournaments and different matches in contenders as well. They're really the top of that contenders level, and they have so much potential to do even more. But that is why we know this match is going to be good, right? Last time that we got to see them, it was Nepal, Havana, and Blizzard World. And like you said, it was Bay State getting away with the victory, but that means that DICE might be able to adapt a little bit more, trying to make the better decisions into what maps they feel comfortable with, to really enable them for success and to enable them to take that victory today.
Yeah, and I'm really excited. I mentioned this to you before off the cast, that Zura really impressed me on the Tracer. Earlier today, he was like honestly one of the bright spots of DICE Gaming. Not that the team as a whole hasn't been playing well, but I mean they did fall down to the loser brackets, and honestly it was no fault of his, to be honest with you. Like he was really, really good on the Tracer role specifically. So the fact that we get to see him again, and when I noticed he wasn't really, like there was a potential he wasn't being the starting lineup, but now he is. And the fact that we get to see him again, I'm really freaking excited, because I mean DICE Gaming, they're, like I mentioned before, they're full of talent, and specifically in the Tracer role, that's some of the highest skill of the game that we've seen is on Tracer.
Yeah, honestly, it's been really good, and I got to mention it on that first match that we got to see with the Tracer tree was bringing. That was really doing a lot to give them that victory for Roadhog Rides again, but now it's a whole other scenario, so I'm looking forward to seeing those DPS duels in two teams where we can expect those standard compositions more than anything, more of those meta compositions compared to what we saw before, and that just makes the entire tournament, the entire match even more competitive.
Yeah, and as we load into Lijiang Tower, we potentially will see similar compositions as we saw before. But, you know, there's a chance we see some things mixed up. We could see some Pharah. This is Gardens. However, you know, a lot of these teams, Bay State, I think we've seen teams pull up Reaper on Gardens. It doesn't happen too much, although Reaper can be really, really strong in the middle of the point on Gardens when, you know, everybody's there. You just have a guy blasting shotguns in your face, you know, getting Reaper roll, doing all of that in terms of damage. It's really, really hard to pull off well, though, when teams start to play wide, play high, you know.
Yeah, and it's like you either get it right away, or it's potentially not going to work out if you're not able to set up that Reaper. But they're going to go for it. More than anything, I'm really excited for this Echo. It's an Echo that we haven't seen pre-day in the match that we got to see early, and it's an Echo that can get so much value, take the up angle, and support the team a lot more. But we already get to see as well DICE taking the point control early on.
Yeah, Infernal lost mech. They decided to stay out in the open for a little bit too long, maybe looking for an engage with the Winston. But Infected on the Reinhardt here, I saw people were talking about this earlier, where he's really known for his Reinhardt gameplay. So he's going to have to kind of zone, play slow, wait for Mayall, Zira drop the May wall. Unfortunately, can't find anything. Moser's coming up on that Baptiste window, though, so keep aware of that. Has it ready to go. The shield's broken. He's probably going to have to drop it as soon as Bay State manages to get the point. And there it goes. They drop the window, zones back Bay State a little bit, but no depth just yet. Depresso actually pops the Echo, but immediately loses the mech while capping into D.Va. Can get it back as well. Ball drops close to the wall to get that damage off from the mech remech. Beat drop comes out, though, and Aspen gets Neb, and no beat for Bay State, so a really fast beat drop. Depresso's in the back line trying to find something on this Echo, but unfortunately for him, doesn't come up with anything just yet, as DICE Gaming are winning the fight, it looks like, until Zira goes down. And actually, Kabe's still here from Bay State, getting 2K Bay State are still in this pretty well with the Moira as well, and a beat drop coming back, and Dice Gaming really doesn't have any ults here. Nobody dead yet, or not a team wipe yet for Dice Gaming, I should say, because Moser already has another Baptiste window. He hasn't died yet. This guy already has 2 Baptiste windows, and Neb has a beat drop.
Oh, and Persa getting taken down all the way back finally, but basically they have the point control. Now it's a faster idea to go into the side of Dice Gaming. They're managing to stay alive, but a sound barrier stopping things down just a little bit of amplification as well, trying to find those angles for Dice, but finally they might have to back up. Infernal once again losing mech, having to play a little bit more passive here for the Ziva.
Moser. Yeah, really good defensive play from Dice Gaming. They get a quick 2K beat drop, re-engage, and finally they open things back up. What looked to be their favor for the first, 30 seconds flipped into Bay State's favor, and now it's back into Dice Gaming's favor as they had to drop the beat drop and another Baptiste window. By the way, I'm surprised nobody's been dead there, Dryad. I don't know. Moser has been playing absolutely on fire on Baptiste.
Yeah, it's a really good control here that Dice Gaming is able to take, and they don't waste so much time because they already know Bay State had that point control, and the more that you wait, the harder it is going to be that point for a recontest. So Dice Gaming, they engage with that amplification, they give the opening for them to work, and as a wraparound at least, that Bay State is trying to do to take that point back.
TP, oh no, Infected, as I was about to say, Cobble's gonna go for the ult, he gets shattered. Diva Bomb from Infernal, but Infected with a quick 2K because Infernal had to drop the Diva Bomb. Really huge plays by the Reinhardt player for Dice Gaming, but Depresso with a quick 3K and the copy of the Reinhardt. Didn't even see that from the outside looking in. It looked like Dice was winning, but Depresso actually out Reinhardt diffing Infected, even though he's not a Reinhardt player.
Yeah, really nice job here, and making a difference with the Echo 3K gives the point back to Bay State. Now, they have even more to work with, right? There's going to be a Sound Barrier coming in next that Dice Gaming is going to have to play around. And on the other side, you're going to have the Death Blossom too, so a lot of space control right on the point that Bay State is able to continue passing that 70%, potentially passing that 80%, which means that Dice Gaming, they have to take more of a proactive approach into this fight.
Yeah, and they actually do that as the Cabe try to drop a Reaper ult there, and they drop a Diva Bomb to potentially disengage, but Depresso gets pedal. Beat drop from Dice Gaming. They're down to the 5v6. Now Infernal loses his mech, and Neb drops his beat drop, so it looks like they're actually kind of still in this fight, the second beat drop. As you know, like support ults, the later you pop them, or the later you can get away with popping them, the better chance you have to win that fight. And Bay State, really good support ults. And in fact, now Abs uses the support ult, or uses his Moira ult, so actually managing to stay in this. Overtime ticks down. Frosted loses his mech with Dice Gaming, having to recontest with very little utility. Depresso, how do you live there? Almost gets one clip from Petal.
Insane, yeah.
But
really
sadly,
here, but yeah, it's going to be already 99%, and Dice Gaming, they're getting taken down one by one. Might be it. Bay State, they found the answer into this one. Is just stalling here, trying to touch the point one by one. The supports, the last hope for Dice Gaming, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be the case. That's awesome to guarantee that no one else is coming up close.
Infected with the shatter, gets the Reinhardt, but as the damage there, doesn't look like it. Aspen got Abs, but Faded gets Frosted, and somehow Dice Gaming are still in this Dryad. Well, as I say, that Petal gets down to Cabe, and the delay on Gardens is absurd. Like, this fight is still going on. Zera comes back with the Reaper. Infected got two. Zera gets faded. How is this fight still happening? Dice brought it back. The Reaper ult, the Shatter, Infected with the Reinhardt with the quick 2K. They brought it back. Dice is still on the board, Dryad.
It really seemed like that was going to be it, but I mean, finding the answer with Infected and Zero coming just in time to support that Reinhardt as well to get to the last couple of kills, to melt the HP of the last couple of members alive instead of Bay State. So now they're in the loser end, and they have to wait. They have 99, the point control, and immediately that's gaming. They have to back to point.
Yeah, the Reaper engage. We're checking out the support ults here. Big Pulse Bomb from Petal, but the copy comes out, so it's negated that Pulse Bomb in its entirety. Beat drop comes out from Neb. Beat drop from Dice Gaming as well. Both support ults coming up. Shatter's Infected. Being juggled! Being mirrored! Shatter doesn't hit anything. 12 HP. Faded with an absolutely absurd Winston gameplay. Diva Bomb pops in to try to do something here, but Faded is fading the heck out of Dice Gaming. They're down 2. They can't come back. Zero's going to have to go insane, but he just doesn't. And Abs with the Coalescence, it just secures it for him. I'm not sure Dice Gaming could do much here, Dryad.
Oh, Faded, what a good play. moved the Reinhardt out of position, couldn't shatter, couldn't connect with the players that was expecting to, and because of that base state, you just get away with it, right? There's no protection for the last couple members of DICE, and base state, they find the answer at the end. What a juggle as well that we got to see faded.
Yeah.
That was insane.
That was Miro-esque. That dude's... I didn't realize that Faded had it in him. That Winston gameplay was some of the best I've seen in a while.
Good.
Yeah.
That was so good. And now DICE Gaming, they're gonna have to change their composition for everyone here. It's more difficult, right? More of those up close angles that you have to take early on. And I am personally a fan of this Junkrat too, is that early damage that they can connect on the side of base state. And with that momentum that they got early on, it could be going their way, at least for that first fight too.
Yeah, you usually see some different compositions here on this map specifically in Control Center. So I mean, this Junkrat is definitely not out of the. I mean, it is out of the ordinary because usually you see that Doomfist Symmetra instead of Junkrat Symmetra, so it's going to be a little bit slower. And on top of that, you don't get those one-shot punches that you usually get. So this is going to be like over time. Cave's going to have to pop off, but Zero on that Doomfist immediately making an impact. Beta gets infected though on the re-engage, so Zura gonna have to do a little bit more here, and he's just kind of melted down by the enemy Junkrat and Symmetra. So like you mentioned, this Junkrat's actually doing work, Dryad.
He's doing a lot, but look at the difference as well too. Base state already with amplification, ready for that next fight, and this one isn't even over. It seems like DICE Gaming, they wanted to
Pressure.
recontest it a little bit longer, effective getting taken down.
Yeah, that was really aggressive, which is, I mean, not unlike Base State, right? They were playing aggressive previously on Gardens, so that did happen, but now they're down 2. Right now they're down 2, so portals are coming up. Moser has the Baptiste window. He uses it, but it's into a Symmetra wall, so Base State can stall a little bit longer on the outside here. Abs gets Fire Strike, though. Infected has been kind of popping off on this Reinhardt. Zero goes down. Beat drop a little bit late to save him. Tire comes out as well. Not much anybody could do here through it, but Zero... Actually, he's respawning now. Petal drops the Symmetra window, so now they have their own window. And beat drop from Neb finally gets taken out. And a Diva Bomb drops into the back line and finds 2K for Frosted. DICE Gaming with their own Symmetra Bomb, Diva Bomb combo managed to actually open up the point for DICE Gaming. Yeah,
for a second it seems like the self-destruct wasn't going to get anything, but there it is, DICE Gaming. They finally get a little bit of point control, and only 50% that Base State was able to get, so not ideal, but definitely not the worst thing to work with. They're going to walk in with a Shatter in the hands of Aided, and let's see what he can do with it. Amplification is not going to be available, so passing this area is the most difficult and the biggest challenge that Base State has right now.
Here it comes. Infected knows the Shatter is here. Diva Bomb Shatter combo comes out. A little bit uncoordinated, but the Diva Bomb manages to find one because of the charge. The charge from Faded opened things up there. Infected had to hold his shield up, but unfortunately couldn't because he just got taken out the map and got Reinhardt diff, to be honest. But there was a lot of ults in favor of DICE Gaming there. You know, they had the Diva Bomb. They had the Shatter. In Base State, unfortunately, didn't... Or, sorry, DICE Gaming didn't hit with their ults. Base State did, I should say. So, honestly, great coordination from them.
It's a pretty good coordination here that is going to work on the hands of Base State, and DICE Gaming waiting for the right timing, waiting for their regroup to make this one work again. There's going to be 2 amplifications ready, probably canceling each other into this one.
Yeah, there's one. Zero tries to open things up, gets the punch on the Faded. Faded gets bashed out of a Shatter and a counter Baptiste when it comes out from Ab, and Faded actually goes down. Faded goes down, but instead of having a Reinhardt, they now have a Symmetric wall. Unfortunately for them, you can't really block a Doomfist punch. Zero comes in and gets a quick 2K and opens things up for DICE Gaming once more.
That's the thing, getting value with this Doomfist, sometimes it can be difficult, you can be countered over and over again, but this is the perfect map to allow this Doomfist to pop off and to get those last kills that the team was needing on the side of DICE Gaming. And look at that, just from that fight, so many ultimates that open up for DICE Gaming to use next. It's just a matter of them being the proactive team, using those ultimates first, going for the early engagement. One pick can do everything for them. They're trying to match the percentage of Ace that has.
Yeah, here comes that aggressive Doomfist punch from Zira, incoming Doomfist ult because he doesn't get any value. Both beat drops popped out, but ult still going in favor of DICE Gaming. Really kind of an even fight, to be honest with you. Everybody tries to heal back up. Kabe has that reroll. He's looking for the lamp from the enemy team. Petal with the high noon zone, doesn't find anything. Just gets the deep outside as he gets Ab with a huge pick. So now there's no main support. There's no heals. There's no heals for Base State.
What a good way to open up the fight here for the Cassidy. There's a headshot right there, guaranteeing the point will be theirs for just a little bit longer. Basically, they've been rotating those ultimates. They've been layering those ultimates one after the other, but the timing never seems right enough and perfect enough for them to take it. And this is really the last chance. It's going to be over 90% for both of the teams. That is Gaming. Once again, proactive initiation that they have with the amplification.
So very aggressive. That was a really aggressive Baptiste one. Doesn't actually find anything. Kabe jumps into the backline, has the repo ready to go, forced to use a shift. Zero dies to Infernal's Diva Bomb. Obs gets Moser, and this is exactly what happened on Garden Dryad. Last time, it was down to the wire, and they're actually managed to make it work, but a shatter out from Infected. Is the damage there? Is the follow-up there? Yes, it is, because Aspen on Lucio drops the beat drop and says, hey, I'm a DPS player too. I'm playing support, but I'm on Lucio, and I'm a fragger. I bring things back. Huge shatter for Infected, and good follow-up damage from Aspen.
And it got really close, but Aspen really making a difference into that one. Bay State, they were opening up the fight. They were getting 1, 2, 3 kills, and the sound barrier keeping Dice Gaming alive was absolutely massive. For them to stay and to still have a chance into this Legion Tower, which is already looking so competitive, and you can already tell this is completely different to what we saw in that first match, right? It's going back and forth, gets to the over the 90%, almost 99 to 99 for both teams, to guarantee who is going to get away with that first map. And, you know, Dice Gaming as well, they're looking for revenge. They're looking for that victory that was taken away into those group stages. Basically, though, they've been doing so well, but it's just the ultimates. They were always behind until the last couple of fights.
Yeah, and they didn't have that Doomfist because, like you mentioned, I mean, Kabe is on the Reaper, and they have that Echo as well. And I mean, previously on that last map in Control Center, it's really hard to kind of play against this Doomfist. The Junkrat was over time doing work, but obviously had to swap off of that and change this Reaper. But you've noticed, like, this is kind of their stable pick, is this Reaper. So it relies pretty much entirely on Cobb getting a good TP. There it is. The TP engage with the Moira Orbs forces the lamp. So really aggressive play from Bay State here, as unfortunately for them, Zira gets the counter punch on the Neb, punches him into a wall and gets the kill, but Moser's down as well, and this main support is done for Dice Gaming, so Zira's kind of alone out here, but Infected and Frosted say, hey, we don't need support. We can just kind of swing our hammer and just deal damage and actually disengage well.
There's a real difference. I wonder at what point there's a potential to see a completely different change in compositions when it comes to Bay State, right? Because contesting Infected on this Reinhardt, I mean, he's been absolutely popping off. As we get to see, he's playing so aggressive, he's opening up the fight, and Bay State with his dive style composition, they don't have so much protection to work with, and yeah, because of that, actually gonna be Moser getting taken down, both support ultimates invested.
Yeah, unfortunately for Dice Gaming, they're down to main support. He comes back with huge shatter for Infected. It's been huge shatter after huge shatter, bringing it back for them. Somehow, when Dice Gaming, unfortunately, it looks like they're going to lose this fight because of, you know, more ults being popped for Bay State. But Infected's bringing back a Baptiste window for Moser. Do they think they can still win this? Are they for real, Dryad?
I mean, they're trying into it, but they don't have the point. Bay State just took it from them. And now we get to see Soldier Shock getting a little bit more, just going back and forth.
Yeah, it's so scrappy. It's so scrappy. I don't know how Dice Gaming thinks they're still in it, but I guess when you have Petal on Cassidy, they can just do whatever the heck you want. Petal gets abs. They have no main support. Bait drop comes down, so they don't need the Moira just yet. Bay State still with the point control as well. Infected goes down, and this is one big, long fight. This is the longest fight ever.
Yeah, it's so risky as well instead of Dice Gaming. Like you said, they engage with the amplification really late into the fight instead of resetting, and it is a matter of seconds before you figure out that it is really not going to be the opening that you expected. They have to regroup, and now they're actually ready for that next fight.
Yeah, incoming they go. And then, oh my god, Neb is just aggressive on the Moser. They keep picking off Moser, and that's unfortunately not going to be a kill on the main support on the Baptiste for them. But it looks like Bay State actually managing to keep this defense in their favor with that that TP from Cabe. That's what we were talking about earlier with Cabe on this Reaper. I mean, just pops the Reaper ult, manages to create space, forces the Baptiste out of the fight. That's just a free win for Bay State there.
Yeah, it's so nice. Bay State now passing that 60%. They're gonna have a primary rage to work with, and we already saw what Faded is capable of doing. It's just scary to think about. Dice Gaming, they're gonna have to engage first. They swap into a Sombra as well, so much more reliant on the EMP to come up, and then those hacks to get some value.
Yeah, Petal goes weak, so he's gonna have to back out. Beat drop Well, actually, no beat drop available yet, but Abs drops the Coalescence into a beat drop, and Aspen! No! She gets AJ'd! Abs gets Moser. That's 2 down for Dice Gaming, and you don't have any supports. Bay State...
timing.
Oh, wait, how did Infected just charge off faded off the map? That just happened. Zero just got Neb, so now it's just coming back. Dice Gaming's not out of it yet. They're going to get the supports now. Moser's going to have to build this Coalescence. Zero comes in, has a Pulse Bomb ready to go. And the supports are still here for Bay State, so I'm not sure if really much else can be done for Dice Gaming. Frosted comes, Pulse Bomb onto the main tank, but no, everybody's still good. Faded still healthy somehow. Finally dies. Beat Drop comes out from Neb, and this looks to be over for Dice Gaming unless something absurd happens.
And every single time, right, they've been so close, but this time around is going to be Bay State getting away with that first map, getting away with Legion Tower in a map that was looking really intense for them, and also a different map, right? So we're seeing a little bit of variety. That control map that they jumped to in those group stages, it was actually in Nepal, and in Legion Tower is much more back and forth. We see the potential and the value that the main tank for each team is bringing into every single fight.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like no fights were ending. And like you mentioned, Infected was really bringing things back. I mean, it was like a main tank battle almost. Like I was going to mention on that last fight, it was, Faded's Primal Rage versus Infected Shatter. Like it was a matter of which tank is going to pop off more because, when it looked like it was in Bay State's favor, Infected would just come back with a fatty shatty and just get like a quick 2K, right? It was like the exact opposite of what you'd expect out of an Overwatch match. Just like, nah, Bay State and Dice Gaming really just going head to head. The main tanks, and the overall play, to be honest with you, like we could just mention Cape. You could mention any individual player. Aspen, that big kill at the end on Aspen. Like, what even happened there? She had the beat drop. She was going to drop it, and then she got killed while she was dropping it. I don't want to touch on it too much because Lucio players like to, get offended about that stuff when you bring up beat drops being canceled. But it did happen, and that was really a game-changing moment for Bay State to get that win.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like you said, I think that's the biggest takeaway that we can take alone with this first map. It's been really back and forth. It's been very intense, and you can see how much every single individual is performing and is playing a role into this. The importance of this couple matches that we have remaining for the Questline Open is trying to get to those grand finals and knowing that everyone really has to perform to the highest level possible. And I love that we're already seeing it in Legion Tower. The tanks an absolute highlight so far. I love how aggressive Infected is willing to play. But it's also realizing that sometimes, and it might be 1 or 2 fights, especially in those control maps, you gotta back up, you gotta wait, and you gotta regroup, and then you can play aggressive. It's just waiting for that right timing, which can be only a couple of seconds that make the difference.
Yeah, and he was always doing things like you mentioned after, like when you would expect most Reinhardts to like do well. Like he was kind of like, and then like Faded on his own end was kind of just juggling him out of a shatter. Like there was just highlights after highlights, and really, I mean, both of these teams are just so good that it's really tough to say that like either main tank is getting the better end of the battle. Like sure, Bay State took Legion Tower, and in the group stages too, like you mentioned, they were doing good as well, and they actually beat Dice Gaming. But now going into Rialto, like we're doing good as well, and they actually beat Dice Gaming. But now going into Rialto, like, can Dice Gaming come back? Can we see Bay State with the same, main tank prowess on both sides when we're going to be seeing more Orisa or a Wrecking Ball in play?
Yeah, I was about to say that too, because Rialto was a very interesting map to jump into next. Just because we have more possibilities of seeing different tanks, which so far have been really the topic of conversation for the two teams. Who's really opening up the fights here? Who's really clutching those scenarios like Dice Gaming was able to do in Garden. So having those potentials and knowing that Rialto is sometimes going to force teams to play that Orisa, play even that Double Shield, play that Sigma, play all of those heroes that are nothing compared to the fast-paced Overwatch that we just got to see.
Yeah, and honestly, Rialto is going to be really tough. I just want to highlight this on the support players because I was mentioning Moser on that last map. Like on Baptiste on Gardens, like he was just kind of like alive for like ever, and he got 2 Baptiste windows with not even dying. And now that we're going to Rialto, like I think it's going to be heavily in the DPS players' hands, like who wins and who loses here, right? Like we've seen Widowmakers pop off on this map. We've seen Echo players pop up on this map. I mean, Rialto is really, really DPS centric, where it felt like the stars of the show on Lijiang was in the tanks and the supports.
For sure. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Every time that we think about Rialto, even Havana, that the teams got to play on those group stages, it is those maps that we are always looking forward to seeing the DPS, what DPS are going to be brought into the table, because at the beginning, if you're going to spawn camp, then we see potentially that Mei. If you're not going to go for that and you're going to play back, then there's a Widowmaker, there's the Ashe, there's the Hanzo, they can play from far away, can get some really nice flashy play. So it's just kind of figuring out what is really working out best for the teams, what is something that we haven't seen before, because these compositions are very unique to this map, and we already get to see it, right? On the defense is going to be what we talked about in those tanks is going to be that double shield, that Orisa, and that Sigma. And a little bit of a balance as well in pace. You're going to have the Tracer playing closer, playing more aggressive, and the Ashe as well, playing back, playing with the tanks as well, and getting that support.
Yeah, I really want to see how Cabe does. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, by the way. Cabe. I hope Cabe doesn't get mad at me in this cast.
In every way possible.
We got to cover the bases. Right. We got to cover the bases, you know? Like, I feel bad because he's actually doing so well, too. So, Cabe, let me know afterwards. I'll send you give me your PayPal, all right? And then, you know, we'll figure things out. But he doesn't have a Zenyatta here, Dryad. So, you know, even though he has Brigitte, you're honestly not as powerful as a Tracer without that Harmony Orb, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And basically, they're going to be expecting that Wrecking Ball to put that pressure. They're not going to drop off the high ground that easily. So that means that they're going to be contested. And look at that. They're so aware of any possibility from Dice Gaming coming in into an off angle, coming in from the high ground. Basically, so far, now they look forward to engaging.
Yeah, they don't want to let go of this high ground so they can keep this Ashe up here. And also, high ground positioning in general is just so good, especially against Tracers and Flankers, when you can just see every angle they're potentially coming from. But Forgotten, you know, on this Ashe, he's not getting maximum value until he starts backing up. You see he's going to back over here, but now he's in the open, and guess who has the high ground? It's Petal on Dice Gaming with the opening pick.
Yeah, really nice way to open it up here, but now having to back up, that Wrecking Ball going really low, contested, stun, every lane that can happen to this tank is happening. So now trying to find and engage, trying to find that first pick, and basically they're just not want to give it away. But now Moser popping up, total attempt getting taken down, and now there's the answer for Dice Gaming.
Sheesh, and this is where you see like Zenyatta's in general start to do really well. I mean, that first pick was huge, but Discord, you see a lot of tank players complain about Discord. Like, you just see everybody all day, Wrecking Ball players, Orisa players, Segway players. They have Discord on you, like in every tips and tricks video. The tank players being like, well, you gotta not be in line of sight of the Discord. So, like, constantly, these Zenyatas are just creating pressure by existing on the freaking battlefield as Moser. Look at that. They just get a quick 2K with the Bob. Discord there, force lamp out on this bridge. It's such a hard recontest. It's such a hard recontest on this first point at the very end.
Yeah, it is going to be the last couple kills are going to come through, and with that Dice Gaming, they get that first point. They're going to try to play aggressive into this one. They want to play towards stairs, but Bay State, I mean, having no idea that they were already so close. Flux even going to be invested into this one. They're fighting for that stairs position.
They ain't stopping. Dice ain't stopping, dude. They're mad. They lost map 1 and they're like, hey, we're getting our revenge. We're going to snowball now, and we're not going to let you get a single chance. Because if to be honest, if Bay State even managed to get this high ground here in the second phase, which it looks like they're not going to be able to, like, you can't snowball, like, you can stop a snowball there. But now Dice Gaming has that high ground here above that staircase, and now Bay State has to fight for this positioning. But incoming Wrecking Ball, as soon as they set up, mines come in and disrupt everything. Gets 2!
It's so good. It's so good. The mines are the perfect timing as well. Going to get anyone who tried to take that stairs control, who wanted to contest that high ground. Dice Gaming, they want to hold, and they will do just that. Payload will continue to move, and Bay State is just not really finding an answer. There's barely any time. That payload should be getting to that second checkpoint.
I mean, what do? This guy Infected on Wrecking Ball is just making everybody's day so much harder on Bay State. Like, they have ults, but one big Wrecking Ball and one big positional difference is going to be in the favor of Dice Gaming. Cobb has this Discord that we mentioned earlier, so he's just in a loss to Moser on the flank with the 1v1, but it doesn't matter because Infernal and Habs, they trade him back. they had ults. Moser could have popped his Transcendence there potentially, even though it was really tight windows. You got to kind of do that there. That's kind of what differentiates the top tier's ends from each other, is you got to be able to get that ult off. Fade gets Petal, though. In Bay State, kind of just marching the way back. Finally, they're finally making a stand here on this third phase with 4 minutes left, Dryad.
And I want to see who's going to engage with that rally first. Both of the teams having it ready, waiting for the right timing. That pulls one in the meantime, not really connecting. There it is, both of the supports on the side of Dice Gaming peeling for each other, keeping each other alive. Making sure that Tracy's not going to get away with a kill that easily.
Bob out with the rally on the flank. Perfect positional difference coming into Sigma ult, though, forces Transcendence. Full spawn comes out from Zero. No kills just yet for the Sigma ult. Counteracts, there's no lamp here, so it can't really be helped if anybody dies here. Perfect Sigma ult, perfectly timed. And Dice Gaming, I think, just had too big of an ult advantage over Bay State, where at least Bay State misused their ult just a little bit, sadly.
There are quite a lot of ultimates invested for Dice Gaming, but they have so much time remaining that even if they don't win this last fight, they have all the momentum to come back and see what they're able to do. The Minefield, the ultimate that may be coming next, is also able to create so much space for them to just get this point all the way till the end.
Yeah, and look at these composition swaps. Bay State swapped to Reinhardt and Cabe. Dies instantly to Petal on the flank, so perfect positioning. Petal gets 2. Gets a little bit of heals, get a little bit of support, and he managed to get 2 people. Just give this guy all of the potential utility, and he'll kill everybody, because Petal just killed 2, opened the entire fight up, and it doesn't even look like Bay State is getting a potential chance here when Petal just is clicking heads. He's just clicking all the heads in the world. Nobody can do anything versus this guy, and that was an utter steamroll.
It's a really good way to prove that Dice Gaming, they have those early picks. They're going to keep it going over and over again. There was a minute as well where they slowed down from second to third point, but it was just everyone preparing for that big fight that was about to take place, where 4 ultimates were invested on the side of Dice Gaming. And sure, that was a lot, but I mean, basically they never got the timing. Everyone was coming out of spawn at different times, and Dice Gaming, they just take advantage of that. I mean, basically they never got the timing. Everyone was coming out of spawn at different times, and Dice Gaming, they just take advantage of that. So Dice Gaming, 256 to work with in case we get to see yet another round after this one. Bay State, I think they were caught off guard by all the aggression that we got to see from Dice Gaming. Now they get the driver's seat, and I mean, they have the potential to do it again, right? I don't see any crazy changes in that composition.
A little bit tougher for, I mean, like you mentioned, like you can kind of do those aggressive plays like Infected can. You know, like you could do that a lot easier on offense. So, you know, maybe Bay State can come back here. And also, I forgot to mention, it's my fault. Forgotten is in the lobby, by the way. And we may have forgotten about Forgotten because he kind of just got snowballed there from Dice Gaming. And he's in for Depresso. You know, that Echo player that we noticed for Bay State that was so impactful on the Zhang is not in the lobby. So now it's on this guy. Now it's Petal versus Forgotten on Ashe v Ashe, right? This is entirely, you know, Ashe diff potential for Petal to kind of stomp his foot down and be like, yo, I'm the better Ashe player. But now, hey, Dryad Abs is on Zenyatta instead of the Baptiste from before.
And already, I mean, Dice Gaming, when we got to see them initially, and the initial composition that we saw on the defense was the double shield, but it is now pretty much the same everywhere you look at, right? Is that mirror match that is taking place, and is both of the Wrecking Balls trying to be disruptive, trying to put that pressure to the enemy team, and trying to take the high ground and control that in one way and another. Both of the teams have.
Yeah, I like this from Dice. It's kind of interesting. They're playing back in that other, more defensive high ground. You don't really see teams play there. And Petal's kind of hanging back here. Both Sigmas kind of just giving each other's Ashes the space, but the Dynamite comes out and hits Bay State, so they're forced to back up a little bit. And you can kind of see in the ult charge battle who's doing better. Dice Gaming is getting a lot of poke damage and no kills, but it looks like their supports are not doing as much. They're playing a little bit safer, while Bay State supports are kind of the aggressors. Like Abs is already 70% on Transcendence. But really, really neutral battle right now.
And Bay State, they're playing more defensive, right? They cannot afford to get taken down early on into this one. So for the Saiyans and for the supports especially, staying alive for as long as possible, but the time is running out. Petal playing all the way back as well, poking that damage, and these high grounds that none of the teams want to give away, but that means that the payload is not going to move.
Yeah, I hate this map as a Zenyatta Dryad, to be honest with you. Like, I feel so bad for Cade because he was doing so much work. Or not Cade, sorry, Abs. It's true. Like, this map is so tough for a lot of these support players. Like, you noticed, I mean, when I was in Overwatch League, not to roast myself a bit, I would get picked off a little bit, you know, like these maps were just sometimes, you know, not all the time. I don't do a lot of the feeding. That's more Cruz's job. But, you know, with the, sorry, I love Cruz. Most of these Ashe players are really doing a lot of the work. So because Abs was kind of having to take that load of being the aggressive Zenyatta, he gets picked from Petal there. And that just opened everything up as they go in another fight. Oh, Sigmol catches them on the rotate and actually picks off Neb. Neb couldn't get in the Transcendence because the door, or the ledge was above him. So he wasn't in that Transcendences. Dice is looking so good, Dryad, right now.
Yeah, they're looking really good, and I was looking at that, the ultimates, and it was just by a couple of seconds, but Dice Gaming was able to build those ultimates first, which means they could initiate with the bugs that we got to see. Seconds, but Dice Gaming was able to build those ultimates first, which means they could initiate with the bugs that we got to see. Oh, but Moser does get taken down. That can be the opening for Baystate to work with. They have a rally to initiate, they have a minefield as well, and they're looking to take the space. There's only 1 minute remaining for them.
That's a Jonak moment. Abs just did his Jonak. Oh, Infernal getting shot by Bob. Tries to get the signal. Actually has to cancel it because he couldn't turn around the corner, I believe. Pulse Bomb comes out, lands on Forgotten. So Dice is still in this. Even though Moser was down, they have Rally, they have support ult, so they're still doing just fine. And Baystate's actually looking a lot weaker here. Even though they got the original pick, they lost Forgotten. And it's honestly been a lot tougher for them as Moser gets Neb. Baystate, Forgotten finally he trades it back, but it might be too little too late as Dice Gaming are looking utterly dominant versus Baystate right now.
It's gotta be a quick reset here, and look at where that Zenyatta is immediately taken down. The timing is not really playing for the side of Baystate. There's 20 seconds remaining. There's a Bob to contest that point just for a little bit longer, but they haven't found an answer in so long. Can they do it now?
I feel so bad for Dryad. I can't help it, dude. He's doing so much, but at the same time, you can't really do that much on these maps. It's just so difficult on Zenyatta to really be the backbone of your team. You have to rely on Forgotten. Forgotten drops the Bob. We're gonna be watching him this fight. Sigmol catches Infernal, so Infernal gets solo Sigmolted. He's a little bit tilted about that. Abs drops the Transcendence. Forgotten. There we go. That's what we're looking for. It gets infected in overtime. Now, when it matters most, Forgotten decides to turn it up, Dryad.
Finding the answer right in the last couple of seconds. That overtime still ticking. Dice Gaming is still trying to contest into this one, especially that Tracer. There is a contest. One Tracer getting the other, and that Pulse Bomb as well. Everything finally, after so long, going according to plan in the hands of Baystate. The time is not over yet.
Cabe with monster pull, a Fleta deadlift, we would call it. That was insane. That Tracer play, he did so much before he died there. Really opened things up with a quick 2K. I mean, that was
nice.
Yeah.
Changing things around, and it is what Baystate was trying to do from the beginning. Finally, they find an answer, and this one is easier to work with because they're gonna have the high ground to work with. They're gonna have a rally as well, and Dice Gaming, they're gonna have to play into their hands.
Yeah, here we see Baystate taking this high ground that we were talking about earlier that was so influential. But we need to see Faded kind of do... There we go. In comes the Wrecking Ball. Gets that same thing that Dice Gaming did on their offense. However, no value just yet. Sigmol comes up, forces the rally. But it doesn't look like Dice Gaming's Faded. Like, they're walking forward. They say, I don't give a crap. Zera, massive Pulse Bomb. Gets a quick 2K. Infected finds Faded as well. So, honestly, great work from Zera. Counterbalance the Cabe's trace from earlier. Great re-engage for Dice to stop the bleeding.
Basically, they have their idea into that one too, initiating with the Flux, but they were completely surrounded by Dice Gaming. Everywhere there you're looking at, it was going to be one of the members of Dice Gaming ready to take that fight and ready to take these duels who ended up going their way. So now, Baystate, and this is a very difficult way to pass it. They have that protection, they have that Sigma, but Flux to initiate, and one by one, a transit has to be forced, and just trying to make it without one member.
Yeah, a little bit late of a Transcendence there, sadly, but I wouldn't put that all on Abs. That bridge is super hard to contest, and everybody else is just going to kind of fall here. They drop the Transcendence. Cabe goes down, though, and, they just use the support ults, unfortunately, there, and don't win. And when that happens in Overwatch, everybody knows this. When you don't have support ults, you're kind of boned, to be honest with you, not to be a little harsh.
You lose the Ashe, you use a chance a little too late, and it seems like that was a sign for Baystate to back up and try to regroup, go again, because this bridge is so difficult, like you mentioned. Yeah. And it lasted a little bit longer than they wanted to. Once again, lost by territory.
Here they come.
To make it to this one, and already the minefield all across this bridge. It cannot cross it.
They're just stunted here. They're stunted here a little bit longer because of that mines that you mentioned, and they're managing to do it with a little bit of HP. Moser has that transcendence on the defensive side. Sadly for Bay State, they don't have any. I don't know how they're all still so healthy. I think this would be more on DICE playing a little bit more passive here in this situation. That's why things aren't really going in their favor too bad, but they have the advantage. Petal drops the bomb and it goes down. Forgotten just fell off the map. I don't know how he did that, but it doesn't matter because Abs is the real man of the hour. He gets 2K. There's 2 dead, though, on the side of DICE Gaming, and they managed to bring it back because Infected, Frosted, and Aspen managed to get a quick 2K. There's nothing else that can be done here. It's looking over for Bay State. I don't know if they can touch. They can't. Nope. And that makes it 1-1, Dryad. DICE Gaming bringing it back.
DICE Gaming looking so good in this map. I mean, we got to see them on the attacking side, making it with over 2 minutes remaining, just a little over 2 minutes. And even on the defense, they were wasting so much time for Bay State, having that other high ground control. And you mentioned it, that's not a high ground that people are usually contesting. Yet Bay State or DICE Gaming, they went for this approach. They managed to work it out, and they were wasting almost 3 minutes on that first point. And because of that, basically they could never find the answer into second. They lost that fight. They lost the high ground and stairs control. And after that, the ultimates weren't going their way. They were getting the poke phase that was taking place for DICE Gaming was just perfect. It was just really a snowball that we got to see. But it's nice, right? It's what we expected for DICE to come back into the second map to bring something new. And it's also almost going the same way as those group stages. It was one map going for one team, the other one going for the other team, and guaranteeing that more maps are going to be needed.
It's so freaking close. I mean, I feel so bad for Abe because he was doing so well. And, you know, that sub, I just want to mention before we throw it to break, that Forgotten in for Depresso. When Depresso was playing on Lijiang, he was doing very, very well. And not to say that Forgotten's a bad player by any means, but Petal was really good on the Ashe in that duel and really put a lot of that, workload onto Abs. And you really don't see that much on those type of maps. But we're gonna head to break, guys. We'll be back. It's 1-1. This is an insane series. Welcome back. Or we're sending it to break. Not a good caster these days, huh? Welcome back, everybody, to the Questline Open. We're on our third map. I was about to say fourth map, our third map. We're going to Kings Row on this series of Bay State versus Dice Gaming. 1-1, very, very close series, actually. I'm kind of surprised because we noticed how in the group stages, Bay State actually had the better of Dice Gaming, Dryad, but it seems like this is a lot closer of a match than you would think on paper.
Yeah, and it's good because Dice Gaming probably, knowing that those group stages happened last week and they had enough time to learn a little bit more about Bay State and what they wanted to play, what they were bringing on that time on that first match that they played against each other. And now they're really showing the difference, right? The maps by themselves, they've been completely different to what we saw in that first weekend. And especially now that we jump into Kings Row, right? This is a map that we get to see very often. It's a very classic one, but it should be a really good clash between the two styles in composition that we got to see between Dice and between Bay State. And more than composition, I would say the tempo into who's getting the first advantage, that first momentum to work with.
Yeah, teams have been experimenting a bit more on Kings Row, which is kind of surprising, as we've seen teams play Wrecking Ball on Kings Row when you'd assume that just by default, like, this is a Reinhardt map, right? Like, everybody's just going to play Reinhardt. And, I mean, on Lejeune Tower, we, like, infected with this really aggressive Reinhardt play that you mentioned. Like, that dude can really kind of create, shockwaves and kind of really open things up for his team. And now that we're going to Kings Row, like, you'd think that this is his map, but to be honest, like, Faded is equally as skilled of a main tank. Maybe not on Reinhardt, but we really haven't seen too much of his Reinhardt play, to be honest. But overall, like, this is like gonna be a tank and support matchup, like we mentioned on Lejeune Tower.
Yeah, for sure, and we can see those a lot more. The tanks and the role that they're gonna play, like you said, more often. You think Kings Row, you're gonna think of that Reinhardt recently with that D.Va more than anything, and both of them just playing in different ways, kind of supporting each other too. But there's also the possibilities, and I know you mentioned the tanks and the supports, but I also like to see the variety that Kings Row brings when it comes to DPS, right? Sometimes we get to see Pharah, sometimes we get to see Echo, sometimes it's just a classic Tracer that has been meta for such a long time for a reason. And you can see a good variety depending on who's starting on the defensive side and how comfortable they feel with the high ground control that they want to take, or if they want to play a little bit more forward, a little bit more aggressive, like I could imagine Infected doing into this one.
Yeah, it's really like Kings Row first point specifically, as is a good point, time to mention it, that Dice is actually going to be on defense first to start. So honestly, we're going to have to see Infected play, at least on the first point, probably a bit more passive. Like, there's a chance that we see him on Orisa. There's a chance that we see him on some of his characters just for first point, only because, and I don't really think that teams these days will play like, oh, I'm going to play like this one main tank on just first point, right? Like, things do change, and throughout the map, other heroes will be stronger than others, right? For example, on first point, like I mentioned, Orisa probably be better on first point, but you're probably not going to be playing Orisa on second or third point on defense, right? Like, that would be a little bit out of the ordinary. So to combat that, teams are kind of like, okay, let's just put our guy on our comfort pick on Reinhardt, and just kind of keep him on that the whole game. In first point, like, you could get punished for doing that, Dryad. Like you mentioned earlier, we could see Pharaoh, we could see, more Stammy comps just ruin the Reinhardt's day.
It's a lot of factors that, especially the teams have to take into account to see what they're going to bring and how much they are willing to swap once that Reinhardt, once that Reese or whatever it is not working out. And then we got to talk about it now. We actually get to see it, right? Dice Gaming coming in, starting on the defense, and it's actually going to be a Wrecking Ball and Sigma that is going to be played in that area. So looking very similar to what we just got to see in that Rialto map. And I mean, Bay State potentially with a completely different composition too.
Yeah, this is exactly opposite of what I mentioned. This is Infected playing. This is the caster cursed to me. Like, I'm cursed.
Okay, here's the thing, right? Like, we talked about Infected playing aggressive, and he is still able to do that on the Wrecking Ball, right?
You're right,
There's still a point to it for Infected, what he can do. The only thing that concerns me is how much value you get playing back. Even though Bay State, they're going to make some last-second changes into this one, but there's not going to be any stuns. There's not going to be any potential denial of this Wrecking Ball right away.
No, Bay State loves this comp. They like this Reaper Tracer comp. They play this on Lejang as well, which, I mean, to some success, I would say. But now that we have Infected on Wrecking Ball, he can kind of disrupt things. His Petals just dove on already. Frosted took out Faded, but Petal's dead. So now you don't have a Widowmaker or a main tank on both sides. So it's even. It's 5 versus 5. It's Overwatch 2. So things can still kind of change. However, Bay State has the close response. Infected is back. Pause. Okay, everybody's asking for a pause, so it looks like we're going to a little bit of a break temporarily as they try to sort things out. We probably could go back right into the game, but I mentioned, like you mentioned earlier, like already trades 1-for-1, right? We're already into a 5 versus 5. Lost the Widowmaker, so then that's out the picture. And now we're going back into the lobby. He gets the respawn, and Petal's still on the Widowmaker. He has to come all the way back from the spawn, though.
Look at this Reaper as well, playing all the way back to trying to contest that high ground on the hands of Faded. Before not working out, Petal, really good headshot. But, I mean, we have Faded in such a close corridor to work with, and he's going to pop off on this Winston.
Petal's aim is so freaking good. It's just, unfortunately for him, he just gets 1 kill, and the other team got 5 kills, you know? Like, it's like Kefri. You get 1 kill, but it's not enough because the other team decided to play, hey, we're just going to run into your supports and kill everybody else. But they're actually recontesting. They're recontesting with this composition. Pulse Bomb comes on to Faded. Petal gets abs. Okay, this Widowmaker reopened things somehow. That is pretty rare. Beat Drop comes out. Now that they're down to support, it's going to be a little bit tougher for Bay State. Huge shot. Look at this guy's aim. He's absurd. It doesn't matter, though, because Dice Gaming just gets wiped out by Bay State.
Yeah, getting dove at the end, and with that, I mean, you already had over 66% in the hands of Bay State. They just needed a little bit more. By the time that the recontest was happening, there was already so much pressure for Dice Gaming to get those opening picks that weren't really happening. So Bay State, they're gonna get away with it. They have good ultimates to continue getting this momentum, and they're going to push forward, right? You want to take this fight past this corner to work with the Coalescence and with Faded having that Primal Rage.
Yeah, and they built that Coalescence because Infected dropped that Wrecking Ball ult, and after the fight's already over, you can kind of use that Wrecking Ball ult to give your own team supports charge. So they do that. Now they have the Coalescence. Aggressive plays from Infernal. Kind of gets caught out a little bit by the Discord Orb, but nothing will come of it besides a little bit of poke damage. However, Dice Gaming has the double support ults. They have the double support ults, but it doesn't matter because Cabe on the Reaper somehow just killed the Tracer. Rowley comes back out into Cabe. He's pretty mad that his teammate just died to you. So they're all running at him. Cabe drops the Reaper ult with the Discord Orb, perfectly fine because he has the Coalescence all over him, so he's healthy. And Dice Gaming really still trying to win this fight. Moser comes out of his ult, decides to push a little bit aggressive because he has the Rally armor, but now it's gone. And immediately just dinks Mikan on the Lucio, just can't even live for a little bit longer than 2 seconds. As Bay State come back, find the 2K to bring things into their favor, and Dice Gaming still have that Zenyatta on the field, so whenever you have this guy on Zen, everything is still winnable. Dice Gaming going for a little bit of a soft reset, 3 minutes left to capture this first point. They're trying to get everybody here, Dryad. They really want to win this fight before it goes into third phase of King's Row.
Oh, but it is really the last chance into this one for Dice Gaming. They're going to engage with the self-destruct going all the way to the high ground. Not really connecting too much, but the kills are going to do the job here. That Tracer, Winston, 1 by 1, they're going to get taken down. So finally, Dice Gaming, they're going to find an answer into it for the last chance, the last opportunity that they had. It was a fight that was very long, but as the fight was taking place, that payload was moving all the way to the back. And you know, at least I like that basically they didn't have all the ultimates to use. They couldn't engage with as many ultimates as possible, so you know they're going to be ready for that next fight, that Coalescence as well, that you get to see early on. And in the meantime, Dice Gaming trying to take out that high ground.
Yeah, here they come. They're going for an aggressive play, potentially with a Pulse Bomb. Wrecking Ball's in. The peel, actually, from Zera with the high noon from Petal. They're just trying to keep him alive, really trying to enable this Cassidy, as you see Frosted's coming back for the peel. Petal's still good. Totally healthy because Moser gets Faded on the front line. Faded trying to do something a little bit aggressive and got immediately counterbalanced by the rest of their team. But it looks like Dice Gaming with the Rowley are cleaning things up. Forgotten got Petal though, so that's already 1 kill. Pulse Bomb comes out and Zura just gets Cabe with the tracking. It's amazing. It's perfect. Infected gets Forgotten as well. And Dice Gaming with his defense, you wouldn't think that Zenyatta Brigitte would be such a good composition, but they're playing this range in space perfectly with this peel.
Yeah, they're playing it so well, and it gets risky at the beginning because they really shine when they say it's right in front of their faces and they're able to have a proper engage. So towards the beginning, they do suffer a couple of those losses, but they come back in time. Everyone that you see, the Tracer as well, that's the one that has been getting taken down in a couple scenarios, is able to come back so quickly that basically they just have to regroup over and over again. And look at that, they're gonna try it again. They're gonna rotate and they're gonna try to layer those ultimates again, but modes are already opening thick and that Tracer goes down.
Yeah, there's no way Bay State can win this fight now. They're already down 2 people, and this is the problem with Tracer, is that she's so good, but with little to no flanks on King's Row, you can just get clapped by a Zenyatta as good as Moser.
Yeah, now there's going to be less than 50 seconds remaining, so even more pressure to what Bay State can do. And they started really well. They started really aggressive, but they've been slowed down by DICE Gaming. And the way that they've been playing so far back, keeping the supports alive. And until you get the supports, Bay State cannot find an opening.
Yeah, it's so hard to get on Moser. He's just so freaking far back, and you have no flanks. You have that left flank behind the bar, and then you have all that right side by those pipes and the spawn doors, but instead they try to go up top to the top room. But look at this, Moser's already out of the fight. Zera's here looking at Discords. Moira Coalescence, they're going so deep. They had to go so deep into the third point just to get Aspen and commit so much. But Bay State, they have some ults coming back. They have some ults coming back into this fight, as Moser's dead, Ab's dead as well, so both main sports dead. Cade actually gets Zera and a huge Reaper ult. Probably one of the best placed Reaper ults you possibly could do. And Bay State are being kept alive by their DPSs right now by a string.
Just barely anything, but Bay State, they managed to do it, and a last resource invested in the hands of Infected, using that minefield, hoping to create that space. But with the shield that we see for Bay State, it was denied, now faded. Going into that Reinhardt role, seeing what he's able to bring into this one too, DICE Gaming. Now is a time where they definitely have to play back. They have to play for the high gun, and we already see the Reaper and the D.Va are trying to contest it. I have to back up too.
Yeah, they're kind of in a weird position. Oh, Forgotten was low, came back for heals, and just got slammed. He was kind of out of position to get heals there. This is where people would blame your support player. They'd be like, why am I not getting heals? But in this situation, like, he was about to heal you and just got slammed immediately. So that's just kind of unlucky, to be honest with you. Frosted lost mech. Micken drops the beat drop, so Bay State's still in it. But Cave dies the pedal. Pedal on the Widowmaker in this third point was a swap that we noticed and actually managed to get value out of it. I was a little bit worried for it because obviously Infernal has been great at keeping him in check with him on the D.Va. But now they have the Coalescence, and things are going to have to get really fast-paced for Bay State.
There's no time, right? There's 15 seconds remaining here for Bay State to find an answer. They made it pretty far, but this is the fight that matters the most. Coalescence has to initiate the fight here, try to build those ultimates next. And the D.Va waiting for that right timing, playing disruptive, and trying to create that space too for DICE Gaming to get the kills.
Incoming Coalescence, the mines came out from Infected. He was so impactful on the previous map with that, and Cave gets Moser. So Cave, back and forth, DPS to be DPS right now as the D.Va bomb comes out on the point from Frosted. Is it big? Yes! Gets 2, and it looks like Bay State are stopped in their tracks last second on this third point as Petal gets the final kill on Infernal.
A Dream Self-Destruct gets both of the supports, immediately denies any other possibility to make it till the end. And so with that, DICE Gaming, they started a little bit slower. They got the momentum into that second point in the defense, and they found it right again when it needed the most. And they were just wasting so much time again from Bay State. We got to see in that first map. They continue to do it. Is the timing to engage for DICE Gaming? That communication really seems to be shining for them to get this.
DICE Gaming is fantastic at this Zenyatta comp. Like you mentioned, the communication. This is like a really, really fun matchup for me personally because, I mean, like I mentioned, this is a classic. This is like poke / like, ranged Zenyatta composition versus like the GOATs, so, Reinhardt, D.Va, Speed and Lucio with a Reaper, right? You're just kind of going from angle to angle, trying to take as little damage as possible, give a little bit as damage as possible to DICE Gaming and their support ults and DPS ults. And it's not working out, to be honest with you. Like, I was warned about this before, where this Zenyatta Wrecking Ball composition is, like, supposedly the best composition. The problem is in NA it's just, or as we get a pause, this is a good time to talk about it. The problem is NA is that most of these teams aren't very good at it. You know, like the communication has to be on point, like you mentioned, for Dice Gaming. Like that's the only way you make that comp work.
Yeah, and in that communication, like I said, they were able to do it for those fights that really, really matter to them. That one at the end and the 1 and 2 second point where you need to waste them as much time as possible from the attacking side. So they're able to do it. But yeah, like I said, it's a very difficult composition, which is why, I mean, even when we were talking about compositions that we could see in this map, we didn't even bring up this possibility. But so far for Dice Gaming, they made it work, and now it is their time to prove how this composition can play on the attacking side too.
Yeah, and this is where you would think the composition shines on the attacking side. Like the fact that they even managed to make sure that Bay State could not cap out third point, that's like pretty freaking crazy that that even happened. So Dice Gaming, with all of the momentum on their side, it's kind of in their hands to throw this game. Right? Like what could go wrong for them? It's on Bay State to get these good rotates, to be honest.
They're going to be playing back in the meantime. They're not going to give any positional advantage just yet, and they're gonna wait for the right timing here for this engagement.
And in fact, it goes to touch the point. Petal gets Micken, so that's already one in favor of Dice Gaming. Like we mentioned, just a matter of time, right? You can only play perfect for so long, which it seems like you kind of have to play perfect. But what can you do when this guy's on Hanzo, ripping your heads off, and just gets 2 kills and is already close to a Hanzo arrow?
Yeah, there's really nothing you can do. You have the Maywall as well, trying to isolate the targets a little bit more, but so far, nothing possible. Bay State playing this very carefully. Don't want to give that 66% for the side of Dice Gaming. And Dice Gaming, they might have to back up. They're waiting for the right timing again. Maywall just a little bit more for protection. There is a Blizzard too. Yeah,
and he come in. Zero gets the pulse bomb onto the Diva Bomb and the Baptiste, so no main heals here. And as good as it looks like Bay State is playing this, they can't like play perfect forever, right? This first point is just eventually going to go in the favor of this Hanzo. Like whenever Hanzo is meta, this dude is just going to like trounce all over you. Petal specifically, we mentioned this before on first point, Dryad, like he's so good. Like I am really impressed with Petal's gameplay right now.
Yeah, he's insane. He's a player that I've been seeing for quite a long time, and he's always popping up when he needs to, especially in this Hanzo that we haven't gotten the chance to see too much of today. But he's getting his recognition, he's getting his time, and he's really proving what he's able to do. Because of that, Dice Gaming is able to open up so much more space to work with. Bay State having to regroup, come back, play together with this May that they still want to commit to.
Yeah, and Bay State trying to go aggressive with this beat drop. Sen Forgotten to the backline. Forgotten actually missed the beat drop because he went inside, by the way. The lamp came out. Moser gets Infernal, and this fight's still trying to be won by Dice Gaming because they think they can win every fight, it looks like. It doesn't matter what fight. If we're losing, if we're winning, we're going to keep trying to win no matter what. You know, it's kind of like opposite of what you think you should do in Overwatch, but to be honest with this Zenyatta composition with the Hanzo, with the Wrecking Ball, you have so much firepower that you could just turn around any fight like Dice Gaming has been.
Yeah, Dice is really carrying this map. They have the better positioning every single time to have those engagements, and the support of every single one of the members in this team is doing their job to guarantee those rounds and those fights are going their way. Now, Bay State, they have one more chance here, one more opportunity. They have some ultimates to work with. That Shatter, though, for Faded, it has to connect. Amplification as well, so it could be a good combination, too.
Yeah, but what do you do when they're playing a high ground, right? Like everybody's just out of the way. You're gonna shatter nobody because a Tracer could just blink past it. So there goes that opportunity. Forgotten gets Petal though because Petal peeked his head a little bit too long. And honestly, finally, Bay State get a hold, right? It was looking so dire for them in this third point. They had to get something. And finally, they popped the Shatter, they popped the High Noon, didn't get value to the Shatter, got this value out of the High Noon. And finally,
really just a High Noon. Yeah, it was really just a High Noon to create that space to force everyone in Dice Gaming to back up. But now they're gonna play aggressive Minefield to start it off, push it everyone off their positioning.
Yeah, Infect is taking so much damage here. Finally stays alive. He's so good on the Wrecking Ball, by the way, doing a great job at living, playing safe, and getting value out of the Diva. Infernal goes low, dropping the Diva Bomb. Is he gonna die? No. Has good heals. Force Lamp though. So no Lamp for Bay State here. No Immortality Code to keep him alive as they drop the Baptiste window. Faded goes aggressive, but he didn't get the beat drop in time! Micken was a little bit too late. Faded dies before. Cabe finally gets Aspen, so that's one kill. But Frosted with the Devon, Moser with the Transcendence, comes back in, doesn't find anything yet, but the May comes out of its ice block, eventually peeks its head and dies. So the counter aggression comes out for Dice Gaming now. Now they're down both tanks. Now it's just going to be a constant snowball onto this third point. Finally, Faded comes back. High Noon, Forgotten, can you be crazy again? No, because Petal with the Hanzo Arrow and the Storm Arrow finds Faded, and finally they close out on the second point.
The priority as well that we saw for Dice Gaming was really on point, right? We saw Infected, or we saw actually Faded getting taken down so early into the fight that it left only the support and the Mei alive. You have no protection besides that Mei wall that only lasts a couple seconds, and they just have to play back, they just have to hide, and it is the perfect opportunity for Dice Gaming to play aggressive into that one. They have so much more time remaining, and Infected once again has the opportunity to pop off into this one, engage with a minefield. He's just gonna do that. They stayed not finding an answer here.
No, Petal just gets Infernal on the side. They try to swap to the Roadhog and like mix things up, but it looks too little too late because this guy's not stopping. Petal is putting his pedal to the damn metal, and he does not stop murdering everybody. Who's gonna touch the point? Nobody! Nobody's gonna touch the point. And Dice Gaming cap out on King's Row, making it 2-1. What in tarnation's happening right now?
That was insane. I mean, it was just a matter of seconds too. And it was so close as well that everyone had to stay close, but getting out of positioning with the minefield that we saw early on and the kill as well into the Roadhog, it was just going from bad to worse for Bay State, who almost found an answer into that first point. This is where we saw them looking the most competitive too. They have that Mei wall, they could isolate the targets, but it wasn't as easy as, you know, just having a Reinhardt in the front, isolating and taking him down. It was a wrecking ball contesting and making things a lot more challenging for Bay State. So it's actually going to be Dice Gaming taking the lead here.
Okay, going up 2-1 in the series, we're going to a 2CP map yet to be selected. And I hate to be this guy, Dryad, but you know, Forgotten, since he's been subbed in, unfortunately has gone down to 0, right? He just came in for Depresso. After map 1, Depresso came on Lejang Tower, did very, very well. And it's not to say Forgotten's done bad, but they swapped him out. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Neb got swapped out for Micken, because Micken is the support, or their substitute. So honestly, they've just done some strange swaps. It looks like Neb's back in. So the player who won on Lejang Tower is back in. However, I don't believe Depresso's back in. So this has been kind of weird. I don't want to like throw any blame around, right? I mean, it kind of sounds like I am. But honestly, it's a little bit weird that Depresso's still not back in. I'm glad Neb's still back in. It seems like Bay State have been trying to make like composition or substitutes and all this kind of things. And it's a little bit hard, like in general Overwatch. Like even if your players are overall worse, you would want a starting 6, and you generally want that starting 6 to play the whole time, right? Dice Gaming.
Great news. Yeah? The press is going to be back.
Oh, yeah, thank God. I mean,
yeah. Right. And yeah, the press is going to be back for this potential last map, but it's just looking so competitive that really who knows what's going to happen. And yeah, I mean, I do agree with your point. We know that a lot of teams, they want to bring different players in depending on the map and the composition that they're planning on playing, right? But the consistency as well, and the synergy that you can get with the 6 players playing the same first, second, third map over and over again is something that you can't really match in any other way, right?
It's so freaking hard. We're going to Temple Nubis, by the way, but I do want to mention, like in Overwatch League in Season 2, when I got picked up for the Atlanta Reign, I basically had to share time with Kodak, right? Like Kodak was such an insane player, and I always thought he was better than me in Overwatch. Like I thought he was a very mechanically skilled player, and we just shared time. But the problem with that is that we just didn't have a consistent starting 6 compared to other teams where they would just play the same people over and over again, even if they are like worse at other heroes or whatever. Like for example, I wasn't as good at Zenyatta potentially as Kodak, but I would potentially bring more communication, or I'd bring something in other aspect, and we would have a higher win rate in scrims or whatever, right? So the coaches were always confused. Like, should we start this guy? Should we start this guy? Let's just do both, right? But the problem is you can't have 2 of a good thing, right? You have to make a choice in Overwatch, right? You kind of have to, I'm not going to tell the coaches how to do the job, but you have to make a decision almost, and they kind of have. They've said, okay, Neb and Depresso were the guys that gave us a win on Lejang Tower. Now let's go in Temple Anubis back with Neb and Depresso, and let's try to make things, let's run it back because they're already down in a deficit, right? 2-1, it's not over yet. It's not over yet, but they still have to, they have to come back. They have to come back and down a 2-map deficit to get the win here, Dryad.
Yeah, and they have to come back, and that is something that can play against the mental, knowing that you just lost 2 maps where DICE, I mean, really, they were looking so dominant from beginning to end. They were finding the answers, and like I said, especially in King's Row, the one time where we saw Bay State looking strong was that first point where they could place themselves, they could play back and just engage with that May wall a little bit better, but after that, you lose control, you lose the lead, and it really, like I said, it just goes from bad to worse, which, you know, it requires a little bit of a mental reset and knowing for Bay State that they already won this matchup against DICE Gaming, but now there's more maps involved. There's more maps that none of these teams have played together before, and that means that that communication and everyone being brought back has to be in the best way possible for Bay State to take us to a 2-2.
Yeah, they have to play perfect almost if they want to keep playing those compositions with Lucio, with Reaper, and all these compositions. It feels like, at least in Overwatch, that if you kind of are at like a composition, diff, as what you would call it, like if you feel like the enemy team is playing a better group of heroes than you, then it almost feels impossible. It almost feels like you have to play perfect to actually win. And a lot of coaches in Overwatch League, a lot of Overwatch League players will realize over time, like if it ever feels like you kind of have to play perfect on a composition, that comp probably isn't good, right? Like not to say that it's not doable, but it is incredibly hard. It's the reason why back when there was no roll lock, we like Reinhardt, Lucio, Goats was so good, was because if you try to change things, it felt like you were playing, you were going against the odds. It felt so difficult.
Yeah. It's also a matter of finding different win conditions, right? And it's something that we got to see in the first matchup where there was maybe 1-2 big win conditions, but everything else was so risky. Now, a really good anti to start it off into the simple Venuvius. But yeah, there's so many win conditions that we can take into account for this attacking team alone, right? Depresso back on the Echo. We already saw what he's capable of doing. They did too with a proper dive here, but DICE, they get the better of it.
Petal with that early pick on the abs. I mean, he's just kind of carrying his momentum now. Now it's in his favor. He knows, hey, I know what I'm capable of. I know what I could do. Infernal tries to go aggressive, but huge peel from Moser. By the way, one of the best Ana players in this tournament, doing absolutely insane with Petal now going off on his own little mission here. He's just like, okay, I'm just gonna kill everybody on Ashe, and nobody's gonna be able to stop me, right? Bay State tried to get Depresso on Echo on him, but they just couldn't, and they're still staggering in. Bay State trying to get back to this high ground here, Dryad.
Only that 33% so far that Bay State is able to get to, so that means that DICE Gaming, they're back to the high ground, they're back to the comfort. We see immediately Bay State trying to go for the engage. They use that TP from the Reaper 2 to make it possible, and yeah, Aspen gets taken down, you lose your Mercy, 1-by-1 they could be taken down.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're down their Mercy, because Petal and Zero just bringing things back by their own accord, right? In fact, they come back, killed Gabe, but Faded gets Frosted. It might not matter. It looks like they're still trying to commit to this fight still too, but the DPSs of DICE Gaming are doing the Lord's work right now. Finally, they're cleaned up by Bay State's tanks, and eventually they capitalize off Aspen getting picked early on.
It took a little too long, right? Things could have gotten really risky with Aspen potentially coming back already, but Bay State, they cleaned up the fight. It was kind of going back and forth right in the middle, but Bay State first point control, have a couple lessons, can snowball this one too. With the coalescence to start off, then we know what the Reaper has been capable of doing, but for DICE Gaming, this can be so predictable.
Yeah, the Coalescence comes in early for Ab, as Infected has the Nano Boost, tries to do some frontline damage. Depresso actually finds Petal in this bang line. With no room to go, they're kind of screwed over here. Cave drops the Reaper ult, Beat Drop comes out as well, so Aspen has the Valkyrie still available, but everybody is getting so much damage taken on DICE Gaming, but they're all back. Bay State's still here, the heals have to come out for Cave, but the heals are running low for the Moira, and Cave is taking so much poke damage. Depresso drops the Diva Bomb on the copy, but Cave goes down to Zera. The Diva Bomb's in there, Infected gets the follow-up kill onto Infernal, and the bleeding potentially could have stopped in the second point as DICE Gaming make a hold.
the spawn advantage here really shining for Dice Gaming. They come back, they take everyone down one by one, and they got risky too. It's such an open area to take control of. Bay State, they have 2 self-destructs coming up. One was from the duplicate, the other one was just from Infernal, and even that wasn't enough to get that, at least the 32%, get that first tick that they were looking to. And that means a couple of changes right now. Depresso, we talked about what he's able to do with the Echo and what we got to see from him, but this next Sombra means a completely different playstyle here, trying to build that EMP.
Yeah, he can't find the hack. He's changing things up. They're kind of sticking to their guns with this Moira Lucio, but they're trying to figure something out here. They have 3 minutes and 30 left, so they're not really against the clock just yet. But Abs only can do so much healing, right? The fight can only last so long as Zero drops the pulse bomb, has to get healed up, so that's a lot of resources used from his Moira to keep them up a little bit longer. Good anti-grenade forces a shift out here from the Reaper, and Cabe is just taken out. Depresso finds Petal though. Infernal keeps things going here in the back line as the point is opened up. Finally, Bay State tries to regroup back at the point. So they have the point control, but Frosted! Abes is dead! Abs is dead. Neb has the beat drop still. Is he going to drop it? Yes, he is. So they're trying to win this still. Aspen goes down. Who needs a main healer? Because everybody's still here. 2 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock. But Infected, Zera drops the pulse bomb, gets faded. And Infected still has the Winston ult, so I don't think that Bay State can actually win here.
Yeah, basically, they're gonna find the answer. They tried committing into this fight for so long with the sound barrier, especially with the coalescence that we got to see early on too, but it was not working out too. They're not taking the side of Dice Gaming all at the same time. It's one by one, and Dice Gaming is just able to come back alive now with so many more ultimates to invest with a rally next, and basically they're gonna have to play around it. They're gonna have to get so much value out of this EMP to try to close this map.
Yeah, but look where Dice Gaming is. Like, how are you going to get a good EMP here? That's how. Okay, 3-man EMP. But is your team ready for it? Are they ready for it? They're going to be kills. Rally comes out. No. 0 kills. Winston Primal came out for Dice Gaming as well. And that EMP is just completely negated. Now, Cade, with the reroll, gets Moser. But, like you mentioned with the spawns here, they just favor Dice Gaming so heavily. Bay State finally getting infected as well, but they're going to need to get more than just that. They're still alive. Slowly but surely, Bay State think they can still win this, but everybody's still healthy on Dice Gaming. They're going to have to reset Dryad.
And it's a weird disengage that takes place because they don't go all the way back for Bay State. They wait for the right timing, and the longer they wait, the more the Dice Gaming is able to come back alive and to capitalize from these kills as they get to happen. It's a weird timing that the Bay State is bringing, right? Because we see them engage so aggressively with those ultimates. They lose it. They don't win the fight right away. They play back. They hide in those corners, try to get heal. And when they want to try to go for that engagement again, Dice Gaming has the best side of this fight. So all the time, 3 minutes are down to less than a minute remaining for Bay State to find an answer. That EMP didn't work out, but Depressa can have it again for this potential last fight territory.
This is feeling rough for Bay State. Unless something crazy happens and Dice Gaming pulls a PG-13 and just do the biggest choke job I've ever seen, I don't know how they're going to lose this. They have so many ults. Mauser decides, okay, they play a little bit aggressive. That could be the difference maker. Depresso's here trying to build that MP, but gets shield bashed away. Now there's no Sombra in the fight. But the Nano Boost was used, so overall not a bad engage for Bay State as they didn't really have to use ults. So, I mean, we'll take that, right? That's a positive, Dryad.
There's something to work with, right? But with the time against you, 20 seconds remaining, the ultimate's got to do everything. EMP gets the support. The Aspen goes down. Here it is. This has to be the last chance, the last opening for Bay State to get something done.
Okay, yeah, you're right. This could be the biggest choke job in history as Petal drops the Riptire. He's not letting his team lose. He's just not. Frosted goes down the cave, so things are looking good. They need another kill. There it is. Petal's down to Abs. Okay. Time down the clock, overtime starts ticking, so the spawns start to slow down a bit. Bay State need to stay healthy, but everybody's still weak. Abs is low on Moira juice. As you see, he's down here at the Mega, trying to get his way back up to the high ground and back to his team. Diva Bomb comes out. Very aggressive Diva Bomb, huh? Zero gets 2. Petal's back on Bastion.
Oh, that's it.
They can't hold. They just can't win here now. Bay State thought that they'd have a chance, but they don't even get a tick on the second point.
They can't get close. They can get close. This is the last chance for Bay State, and they started it in the right way, but it doesn't end up. The spawns, everyone comes back alive. At Bastion as well, making sure that no one else is able to touch that point. And Bay State, Into the last one, so close but so far too. They had the right initiation tools to work with. They had the right ultimates. They were engaging with EMPs that were getting supports. But you mentioned it, and it is the biggest part, right? It's not only the Sombra getting that EMP, but the rest of the team capitalizing from this EMP, and it was really the biggest lack that Wasted had.
How do they capitalize, Dryad? Like, they don't have damage. Like, I mean, okay, like, they have the Reaper.
They weren't ready for that engagement every single time, and everyone positioned in different parts, with the Sombra playing so far back. I mean, who's going to get close?
It's just so tough because from a compositional standpoint, they have Moira, they have Lucio. So, first of all, you don't have a Zenyatta. So you don't have that Discord for like the damage amplification. You don't have Baptiste for a Baptiste window, Immortality Field, constant heals, right? Once you're Moira, which is, I mean, abs on Moira. Once he runs out of the juice, like, because she has she has only a certain amount of heals to give before she runs out, then what, right? If you didn't kill enough people in time, it's just rough. Like, you even saw it. Even if they went up 2 or 3 kills, by the time they got those 2 or 3 kills, abs would be out of healing juice. Everybody would be weak. And then, boom, Dice Gaming just come back in, and then there's like, hey, guys, I see a bunch of, candy lying on around the floor. We're just going to kill you. We're fine. We just recontest.
Honestly, Dice Gaming, they really seem to be locked in online and ready to get this victory. They didn't start the strongest, but it was already looking competitive on that first map. Now, it's all up to them what they're able to do in the attacking side, hoping to make this first point fast so they can focus on getting that 33% for the second one and get that victory over with. And basically, because of that, they have such a defensive composition.
Yeah, this might be a good change. This might be a good change of pace. That's a good point. Now that there's on the Orisa, and now they have the Torbjorn and Ashe, they're like, okay, we're just not going to die now. We can't get one shot by Petal on Hanzo. So honestly, this might be the play. This is like in quick play when you're losing, or in ranked when you're losing. You're like, hey guys, let's just swap the double shield. That's literally that's the exact trend. I'm not even trolling with you. This is the exact train of thought these guys are thinking. Like, all right, nothing's working. Let's just play the cringe comp, right?
They go extremely defensive anti this one, and it's a composition that makes sense in this map, right? It's not that it doesn't really make sense at all. But Dice Gaming, they have even more pressure to dive this properly. They're going to try to do it as well with the Nano that they were able to build so early on. No picks, though, and the turret will be getting the better of Infected.
It's freaking working. It's honestly working. They res Petal, but now that nobody can get one shot by Petal or Zura or anybody else on the side of Dice Gaming, things are looking a lot better. Cabe's turret is the MVP right now. His turret is doing so much work. He's doing so much work. Honestly, this Torbjorn comp is great, Dryad.
This is really good, yeah, for sure. They go into defensive composition. They have to rotate to the...
What? He's swapping.
Okay.
He's swapping, right? He must be swapping.
Surely. That was intentional. Yep.
No. Why? But he's staying on Hanzo. Oh no. Oh no. What? Why, bro? Whatever. I'm not the point. I'm not the coach of of Dice Gaming. They're probably freaking out a little bit here, to be honest with you, Dryad. Like, I would be freaking out if my comp... Okay, well, now they go. Now Zera gets Neb. Lamp's forced out. They're already in the back line. Infected. Goes deep, boops off Faded from the high ground, boops him into the open near the mini, but he's perfectly fine. He's peeled by Bob. Frost is trying to get some work, goes back to the Mega. Group with his team is Dice Gaming in the back line, but there's Torbjorn lava everywhere. What do you do when Infernal is in the middle of the point? Drops the Sigma, pretty aggressive, gets Aspen. There it is. That's a great pick. There's one. Moser's dead as well, so no supports on the side of Dice Gaming. Base State are actually managing to kind of group things and make things back in their favor.
Yeah, because there's no supports, right? And that was the pick that was the most ideal with that Flux. Moser had just been taken down. Aspen was the last support alive, and they say they take care of that as soon as possible. Now there's going to be a rally available for Base State, and they've been rotating these ultimates so well. They've been having more chances into this one, to the point that Dice Gaming, they already wasted so much
Petal's
time.
Alone.
They haven't been able to get to point.
Petal's alone. Petal's about to die here. Petal's gone. Ripped their entire purpose, their entire plan is to enable him. Zera gets faded, though, so maybe he's still alive and they can still do things as he gets 2 through a rally in Baptiste. What were Depresso and Faded doing so they couldn't get heals from Abs or Neb? Because now they're down. I'm not sure that Bay State could bring this back, because Zera, with a big 3K, pulse bombs Neb, And Frostic finds that Cabe as well. Moser's down from Infernal, but it might be too little too late because he's resurrected from Aspen. And 20 seconds left on the clock. Finally, Dice Gaming are making things work. A retest comes through, but I don't think it's going to happen for Bay State. Forces a chance. That's something. Depresso dies to Infected as well, and Dice Gaming finally. It took them forever. Oh, they could snowball this Dryad.
Yeah. Look at this positioning as well that Base State has to use. Some of the members playing back.
No way.
Kill came in too late. Guys came in, they're trying to touch the point. They could snowball. This really have the potential. Minefield is ready.
Yeah, look how aggressive they are. Groups off the wall. Minefields, like you mentioned, is already in a fantastic spot. As Aspen's Valkyrie is about to run out, they're kind of snowballed a little bit better. Zera gets Infernal. That's one. Wow. Can they get more? Abs with the window, plays a little bit further back. Moser gets Depresso. Dice Gaming with the ultimate snowball. Can they close it out? No, they can't because Cade gets a pulse bomb and Cade gets two. Abs gets Aspen. No supports here. Dice Gaming trying to make this work, but the spawn advantage is in fact in favor of Bay State. Depresso's back on Genji, and that snowball doesn't work out for Dice Gaming. But it was awfully close. That was kind of scary.
That was really close. And I love how out of nowhere Zero just pops off, gets three kills to work with, and opens up the fight. But that is also a lot of pressure to put into your Tracer. Not every single time you're able to make that one work. So if it's not a snowball, it's gonna be a normal fight that has to take place into this one, trying to build those ultimates for Dice Gaming, trying to get things over with. Again, it's only 33% that they have to get to win the map, to win the match, and they are so close with Depresso. It's about to have a blade too.
Yeah, Infected goes in, Diva Bomb combo, it gets two. The slam from Infected opened things up, and Frosty got a 2K on the Diva Bomb. 4 dead on the state of Bay State, and they all fall as Dice Gaming not sweep, but revenge themselves from the group stages and win 3-1.
3-1, really good job from Dice Gaming. That first map, it's really nothing compared to what we got to see from them right after. Really good job from this team. At the end, the one chance to change things around into the last fight was Depresso having that blade to work with, but immediately this Genji got countered, taken down, and Dice Gaming only needed 32% to get this victory. This is exactly what they do. It's so much faster. They were really driving every single fight, every single map that we got to see after that first one. That was so competitive, but it was already giving us an idea of what Dice Gaming could do and what they were able to do.
I'm not going to point any fingers, to be honest with you, Dryad. Like, I don't want to say anything negative about Bay State because they played phenomenally. They were great, and the players did what they could. And I think from a overall standpoint, that team that was on Anubis played phenomenally. That was a really close game. And they kind of figured out the composition they had to play, right? Like they found out, that's kind of how Overwatch is. It's rock, paper, scissors, right?
Yeah, they find the composition that is working for Dice Gaming, and they're able to almost force it all the way to the end since they figure it out on the a little bit of first that we got to see in the first map, but also especially second, and what they were able to do right after, right? They find what is working out. We talked a lot about the aggression that Infected could bring and how much it was enabling that team for success. And then we got to see a new Infected with a Wrecking Ball that was bringing new things that were being disruptive in the backline, that was creating the space that the team needed, and also giving that support when they needed it the most. So a really good revenge that Dice Gaming is able to put. And Bay State as well. I mean, they were really competitive. Every single fight that we got to see was really close. Some early picks that were happening for them too, but they just weren't as able to close those fights and those maps as Dice was able to.
Yeah, that was really good work from Dice Gaming. And Bay State really, I don't think, should hold their heads in shame because, I mean, teams are just getting better and better in Overwatch, right? And they were honestly very, very competitive, especially on their Reinhardt Moira compositions. They did very well on those. Cabe had moments. Everybody on Bay State had moments. And Dice Gaming as well. MVP for me has to be Petal. He was insanely good. And I'm really curious to hear, what the desk has to say. But honestly, Dryad, it's been a pleasure casting. It's been fun casting here on Questline Open. Thank you so much for having us, guys. I want to hear what the desk has to say.
Hello, friends. We are back. Newbeat here with Ageless and Tickety as we just witnessed our final match of the day. Dice Gaming taking down Bay State in what was a very entertaining matchup. And Aegis and Tikati, we've had a really fun day here. What did you take away from that last match?
For me, I think it was almost like a battle of the old school versus the new school types of compositions that we've been seeing recently. Dice Gaming showing a really good understanding of the newfound Wrecking Ball Zenyatta-based compositions, with Bay State locking in some old favorites with like Reinhardt Rush and the six-man dive compositions with the Winston, the Moira Lucio and stuff like that. And I think we're starting to see trending why this Wrecking Ball composition looks so strong. It looks almost unstoppable, even on maps like King's Row, where it's traditionally been Reinhardt meta since the dawn of time, right? So we're seeing a lot of new strategies come to light here, and a lot of good synergy shown from the side of Dice Gaming to really pull off this victory. And
with that, let's take a look back at the day that was. We started our journey today in the upper bracket. We saw Trust the Process beat out Dice Gaming 3-1, and then GeForce beating Roadhog Rides again to a 3-1 score as well. So then we got to travel down to the lower bracket, where Roadhog Rides again was a little bit better than Dysfunctional. They were able to take that one out, the only 3-0 score of the day. And then with another 3-1 score line, we had Dice Gaming just now taking down Bay State.
Yeah, it was an interesting day. I thought we kind of started out with a mix of team compositions with the recently made teams versus kind of more established teams, and the last two, which mixed things up a little bit, where we saw two new teams and then two established teams, and you can see the choices that the teams are making kind of reflect how long they've been playing together and what they're comfortable with, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure.
Touching on those choices that teams make, Aegis, you wanted to talk for a second about Bay State on this last match that just happened, choosing King's Row as one of their map picks.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting them taking King's Row to maybe try and force Dice to play their game. I'm seeing teams like there's almost like an agreement of like, no matter what the meta is, like just play Ryan and King's Row because it's fun.
Come on, please.
Yeah, just one King's Row Reinhardt, bro. Please, just one, bro.
Yeah.
I thought that was an
saying
interesting.
No to that though.
Yeah, and so we were talking about that a little bit earlier, and Tikati, you were saying, why it's worth it to play this Ball Zenyatta comp, and what advantages does that have over some of the six-man or the rush that we saw that Bay State was trying to lean towards?
I think I can confidently say now that this composition that Bay State's adopting seems to me to be like a modern day GOATS comp. Obviously not anything like GOATS at all, but in the fact that it seems strong and you can run it almost everywhere in almost any kind of matchup and perform well with those characters. This composition is centered around the ball for a lot of disruption and engagement potential, the Tracer for a lot of flexibility and map control. Dice Gaming here was playing it with an anchored hit scan on the Cassidy and Widow picks for Petal on King's Row, which added an interesting element in my opinion, where now you had sort of two backline threats with the Zenyatta and the hit scan just dumping out damage constantly into your front line, making your approach that much harder to find. And then really good use of the map itself, Dice Gaming showing some really strong positioning from their backline, making it almost impossible for the rush-based composition of Bay State to actually achieve their win condition. Normally, like you said, you'd think King's Row, good for Reinhardt, good for rush, fast-based compositions because of the short sight lines, the tight corners. Second point, of course, it's nothing but like a big S-curve where it's surrounded by walls. It should be easy to close the distance on a map like that. But with the disruption coming in from the Wrecking Ball and then the smart positioning from the Zenyatta and the Cassidy players, it just became that much harder. I think the way that Bay State was taking those engagements looked as if they were playing against a weaker team composition. They looked like they were playing an older matchup of, okay, if they're playing a Zenyatta in the backline, we just jump the Zenyatta. But it's no longer that easy when you're being dove by a Wrecking Ball, being picked apart by a Tracer on the flank, and then it's not just Zenyatta, but of course we've got the best character in the game, Brigitte, there standing by next to him and warding off any potential threats. So it really feels, I'm not going to say unbeatable, but it's such a flexible composition that it can be run almost everywhere as long as you can enable those same win conditions, the ball finding good rollouts and good sightlines, safe positioning for the Zenyatta.
Like Ajo said while we were watching that last match, it was like a Bay State was having to deal with a swarm of bees. They had these attacks coming at them from every direction, above, below, everywhere around. And I think it was a really good job from Dice Gaming as well. Tickety, you mentioned their use of ultimates and how that really helped them out through that match.
The biggest thing that impressed me from Bay State is how strong their coordinated efforts were. Like all of their pre-fight rotations looked really solid. All of their engagements were textbook. They lined up all their cooldowns properly. They set proper positioning, and they started fights almost like an Overwatch League team, right? With really strong coordination. The problem therein lied with Bay State not finding immediate closing value, and then the longer the fights go on, the longer that Petal is firing shots on the Cassidy, the longer their backline Zenyatta is able to get these discords out on tanks and completely shred their HP bars, they're slowly winning their way back into the fight. And then we'd see these mid-fight ultimates come through, the two-man pulse bombs, the huge transcendence value, Aspen on the Lucio or the Brigitte with huge rally and sound barrier plays as well. Just so much individual playmaking once they got past that first stage of Bay State throwing everything at them. They survive that one moment, and then everyone has a potential to pop up in the mid-fight, whether that's ultimate pressure from like Diva bombs, pulse bombs, sound barriers, rallies, literally everything across the board just looked really, really clean because they were able to play patiently enough to wait for that right moment.
It was a great showing from Dice Gaming, and some more good news as well. We still have one more day of Overwatch, so let's take a look at where we are headed tomorrow and the bracket that we will be seeing on the Sunday starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We have Trust the Process going up against G-Force. And at 1 o'clock, Road rides again at Dice Gaming. And from there on out, it is all decided by who is winning and who is losing in those games, culminating with the grand finals at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
I'm really looking forward to see the Trust the Process G-Force game. I think those are kind of like two pretty juggernaut teams that we have seen. So to see them coming in there in the upper finals right away, I think it'll give us a glimpse of what those teams want to do. Tickety, you maybe had some faith shaken, you were saying, on Trust the Process.
For sure. After watching the group stages, I thought hands down Trust Process, tournament winners, never going to drop a map. They're just going to hands down be the best looking team. What I thought was interesting was first, their single map loss, it's not much, but a single map loss to Dice Gaming earlier today on the winner's side showed that they can be shaken, right? Even when they're playing compositions that look like their strongest comps in their rush-based, their Reinhardt-based, and anchor-based compositions, Dice Gaming was almost able to go toe-to-toe with them. And even though it was a 3-1 scoreline, I felt that was one of our closer series today, as well as this last series that we just saw again from Dice Gaming. In addition to that, I think, personally, and there might be a bit of bias in this, I think this composition we just saw from Dice Gaming and the composition that I think G-Force is actually pulling out potentially more successfully than Dice Gaming has been with the Wrecking Ball focus is the bane to what a lot of Trust the Process is doing. A lot of their anchor-based compositions might be too slow. From G-Force, I think they're the best team in the tournament currently at that composition. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup to see. Slow the game down and play at their own speed, mark all those threats and hold space well. Maybe they even want to take a mirror matchup in that type of composition, or whether G-Force can steamroll the game, line up that offensive front line, just impressive offensive power from the divers and from the Zenyatta, the level of play that Trust the Process brings. Up in the air, but I currently giving the edge to G-Force in their first matchup, but then it's going to be up to Trust the Process to see if they can bounce back and losers bring it back to finals and make some adjustments to learn from that first matchup and maybe take it into finals. That's what I'm predicting. I think the losers bracket's still going to be some really interesting matches. It's not going to be a cakewalk for either of these teams, but I'm predicting G-Force to come ahead on the winner's side and then Trust the Process to run it back through losers and take them in the grand finals.
Definitely don't think that could be far from what happens tomorrow. But until that, we are going to have to wait and see. There are some thank yous that I wanted to throw out before we go. Thank you to Blizzard for helping us put this on, and also BPL, of course, and Questline for helping with the production and broadcast today. There are a lot of people involved with both those organizations that have just been such a great help. A big shout out to all our talent today, both our casters, LaFan and Big Henry Phil earlier, and as you just saw, Dryad and Dusttin, they were all fantastic. They made the game such a treat to watch. It was so much fun to see them do their work. And of course, our desk visitors as well. We had Julian and of course Tickety. Tickety, thank you so much for joining us once again. And obviously a big shout out to all the players that played today. They gave us a lot of fun Overwatch to watch. And thank you to you, the fans, the viewers at home. Obviously we couldn't do this if you weren't watching as well. So a big thank you to you. And with that, we are signing off for the evening. We will see you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time.